There's so much news to cover. I just kind of do these when I get overwhelmed and I have too much to cover. I just go, fine, I'll do a boom, 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 a big overview of a ton of big, important news. And then for the next video, I can kind of focus on one story. So this is going to be a smattering of things. We're going to start with Marjorie Taylor Greene. This is sort of the first big proof that we're getting that Antifa could have been inserted in the J6 riots in 2020. Again, I don't like going into the past. And I hate conspiracies. You guys know I hate them. However, now that Antifa has been called an American terrorist group, and they've been qualified as that, we need to look into how deep they were involved in that. I'm Doug TenNapel. This is Doug in Exile. I'm glad to have you here. I'm here to serve you. Sit down. Sit at the dinner table. It's time to eat some news.
It's Doug 30, y'all.
So first, this is from Andy No. New York City Antifa member Talia Jane Ben Ora was at January 6th in a MAGA costume. She was never charged with any crimes that day. So do you know what that says? So here's the Antifa member here. She was in a MAGA outfit and she's Antifa. And so we've said, look, Black Lives Matter and Antifa is what I said was all over that thing. They're kind of the radical professional complainers. And then here she is at another Antifa event, a formal one in modernity. So what does it mean when they did a giant dragnet of phone numbers on January 6th and captured 1,500 people? Many of them went to jail. There were questions about Ray Epps and other guys that were strangely not arrested, including this Antifa member. Why was she not arrested? It makes you think maybe they were planted. And I'm not saying by our entire government, but possibly by members of the Democrat Party who are all funded by George Soros, and they're tracing the money back to these radical leftists. Now, and by the way, one quick note on Andy No before we get to Marjorie Taylor Greene. I know you guys may not think this is significant, but Andy No, who's one of my favorite journalists, and I've been at a Hillsdale event with him before, and he was the first to take a brick from Antifa, a brick to the head. So he's been reporting on Antifa for years, 4 years now. Maybe 6 years. And he used to have a rainbow next to his name because he's gay, and now he doesn't wear the rainbow anymore. That is a cultural shift, and I think it's a good thing. It's not that he went straight, but just that people don't feel like that is a brand of value anymore, especially not on the right, that you're starting to see that stuff dry up a little bit in culture, and I like it. Here's Marjorie Taylor Greene. And Marjorie Taylor Greene, you guys know, she has kind of come off of Trump's brand a little bit of recent, especially with Trump's focus, say, on Israel and Ukraine and stuff. She just wants no part of it. So here's Marjorie Taylor Greene, who we love still. She said, I just reviewed the footage from January 6th. There was Antifa in the crowd, just like I and many others always said. Eyewitnesses in the crowd were literally calling them out. They'd go, this is a Fed, or this is Antifa, this person's a Fed, when they saw them performing violence. They might have been the ones that broke the windows at the Capitol. They might have been the ones to be first to tear down the barriers. The FBI, now she's going back to the FBI, who did a massive dragnet of phone numbers, and I have friends who are in that crowd at J6. The FBI has all of the cell phone data and more, and FBI Director Kash should match it with known Antifa members through arrest records from the Black Lives Matter, Summer of Love, Portland, and other riots. So they can start triangulating all of these professional agitators through their phone records. She's right. That's a real good strategy. If they could track down MAGA grandmas, and they did, and put them in jail who just went into the Capitol and prayed, they can track down Antifa members who incited violence. So this is the first story that we're going to do is a little bit more. Here's more from Andy No. As Antifa in Portland are having their comrades dress in animal costumes. Remember, I showed you guys the one Antifa member that was in the inflatable frog outfit, and they wear Pokemon costumes and things like that. It's to whitewash the serious violent attacks happening on the ICE facility. and people for months. Here's a reminder of what they did. Antifa zip-tied all the doors and barricades to the building on June 11th. They then attempted to set the place on fire while dozens of agents were inside. Antifa also brought out bags of rocks to use as projectile weapons. They had rioters illegally stop and redirect drivers on the public road so they could use the street as a staging ground for violence. This was part of the discovery evidence that came out of the trial for the Black Portland woman who sued the city and police for allowing the loud, riotous, violent crimes to continue for months. Bags of what appear to be rocks appear staged throughout the inner crowd. So this would show the funding and organization of it. There were bags of rocks left. Plans to attempt to seize the rocks would result in significant force and confrontation in the 400 plus crowd. So these are crowds of people given rocks. In Black Lives Matter, we saw them giving them gas masks in the ICE raids this year in Los Angeles. Again, it goes to funding and organization. Front doors appear to be zip-tied and barricaded. The crowd now appears to have 100 plus in black bloc. Some appear to be attempting to light a fire in the driveway. FPS reports all their doors are zip-tied. This is just going to show the organization of Antifa. But wait, there's more. Mainstream media got the memo that there's no such thing as Antifa. Here they are all denying it.
There's no Antifa. This is an entirely imaginary organization. There is not an Antifa.
Like, I don't even know what Antifa is. There is no group.
It's not even like far-right groups like the Proud Boys and Oath Keepers. Compared to right-wing extremists, Antifa-linked violence is rare and limited.
It isn't an organization. It is a in many ways mythology.
It's not like the Proud Boys or the Oath Keepers, sort of defined terrorist organizations with.
They got the memo. They all came to the same conclusion. Whatever you think, it's not like Proud Boys that were on J6. Antifa isn't even organized, even though I've watched years of them doing violence on Twitter. And I mean hundreds of videos, hundreds.
Leadership that leads violence.
It's not a highly organized movement. It's a moniker. It's not a unified group like the Proud Boys are. Things like Antifa are things that are thought up.
It's all in this guise of going after Antifa, which is nothing. There's no organization called Antifa.
Nobody's a member of Antifa because it doesn't exist.
Whoa, look at that guy's 1,000-mile stare. This guy is getting the message directly beamed into his head. There is no Antifa. It's nothing like the Proud Boys.
They are just declaring into existence something that doesn't exist.
There is no Antifa organization, so maybe that's good for social media, but it really is non-existent.
They exist on the internet in chat rooms and in 4chan and Discord and places like that where they run discussion boards, trade tactics, documents, things like that. But none of them are called Antifa.
Thank you, Democrats and mainstream media, for making our point that you all have the exact same message, 100% in unison. The Democrat Party and your media, your news, supposedly objective media. We're going to go on to a news story here. This is Doge breaking. The official Doge website just been updated. The estimated savings are now $214 billion, and this is going to increase as more firings occur, which Doge has saved the American taxpayer. What does that mean? This is on average $1,329 for you and I saved us this money in federal taxes. Thank you, Doge, Elon Musk, Trump, etc. Now, I just like this tweet. I just think it's a clever one. Because this is CNN saying, oh, it's just a little, real estate fraud. You see how they went from no one's above the law to everyone commits mortgage fraud. We're going to watch this clip again.
Aside for a second, what Tish James, and again, we're still getting the details, but if it's related to this mortgage issue, I mean, this is something that everyone in America, or many people at least, if you're lucky enough to be able to buy a house in America, you deal with this. Right? The federal government doesn't go after all of these people.
Did you hear that, everyone? This is news to me. Everyone commits mortgage fraud, and if you do, the government doesn't come after you. So I just want to say this is CNN and Letitia James, one of the top tier ranking attorney generals in New York, says you can now commit mortgage fraud. It's just something we all do. This is news to me. Guys, we can now cheat on real estate. And the government says this is wrong for the government to come after. It's political prosecution. Thank you. Thank you for unleashing us. Now, I've always said this, if Hunter Biden gets to cheat on his taxes, why don't I get to cheat on my taxes? I want to cheat on my taxes. I pay my taxes. As a good American Christian man, I have to do it. I don't like doing it. No one does. You know what? I want the same real estate benefit that Letitia James did to benefit me on a mortgage write-off. Take advantage of it. First of all, this is a blatant lie. She knew exactly what she was doing. But they always go, it was a mistake. I've been audited by the IRS before in the 90s. And if I went to them and go, we always, when the feds come in, you play dumb. You play dumb. I go, I didn't know that you can't write off that printer for that amount. I didn't know that you can't write off that. You play dumb. And do you know what? It does not work. The IRS goes, yeah, well, you remember the old TV show? They go like, ignorance of the law is no excuse. Ignorance of the law is no excuse. Because everyone goes, I didn't know I couldn't write off my house for double the amount or for one out of state and claim it as a primary residence so I could avoid expensive taxes in New York and California. So I'll just get a little apartment out in Arizona, which has a better tax rate, but I'll still make my primary residence in California. And then I don't have to pay their taxes. I just tell them I live mostly in Arizona, so I get a cheaper tax rate. And now that's okay. I just want to live by the same rules as Letitia James. And if she doesn't go to jail or get fined or have any kind of a career problem, then I don't want it either. Here's more on now I'm getting into cultural issues about Hollywood. This actually, strangely, it does have to do with Trump and MAGA and kind of the turn of culture. Here's Disney is set to hire a white actress to star in the latest reboot after dumping DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, amid woke fury. So they did a Black Little Mermaid, and there's I think she's Hispanic, Snow White, which bombed, and now they're going to try a white Aryan nation, Proud Boys female, beautiful female for Tangled, the Rapunzel story. What's funny about this, minorities are still struggling, Disney, and why would you abandon them now? Just because you're other box office, you should be able to screw your country into the ground over owning a slave. And now you're endorsing slavery and giving whites who already have a blonde white woman who already has privilege, you're going to give her the privilege of a starring role. How dare you? As a woke liberal, I have to tell you that you're part of the patriarchy. You're part of white privilege. You people, you Disney people. I love saying that to liberals because they never meant it. They never loved. By the way, what about a trans person? Why not have a biological male that identifies as a female play the blonde girl? You won't do that either because you hate the rainbow. You hate trans people. You hate women and you hate minorities and you just use them for this cultural fad called DEI, Black Lives Matter, Marxism, which puts the different identities at war with each other. And when it really comes down to your company and making money, you say, screw our values. We want us some profits. This is my favorite quote from Robbie Starbuck, though. Never forget that wokeness got so ridiculous that now it's actual news story that Disney's hiring a white actress for a white role after they lost $50 million casting a leftist Latina as Snow White. It's news now. Headline, Disney hires a white actress to play a white lead. The culture's changing, and I'm not all, I don't have to say it. I don't like even trying to protect myself and go, hey guys, I'm not pro-white or anything. I'm not pro-white. I won't even say that. I will make a joke about me saying that, though. Here's John Nolte, my buddy, who I worked for at Big Hollywood for Andrew Breitbart. He was the editor, and I love him so. John Nolte. Go look at my name on Wikipedia. It's like, Doug has problematic views. And you know what one of my problematic views was when they tried to cancel my career? That I once wrote articles for Breitbart. That was it. They didn't even say what was in the articles. All my articles were silly and stupid and funny. And they're like, Doug once wrote for Breitbart. So problem solved. We don't hire him, right? You dummies, you hacks. Hollywood, dead. Your stories are dead. John Nolte, the regime media really have lost their ability to influence the public and, more importantly, intimidate GOP lawmakers. So get it? The Democrat media can no longer run the narrative. They're through. The propaganda's done, guys. You'll never win another election now. No way in hell would the GOP have won the messaging wars 10 years ago with this shutdown. That is, the narrative would have made the GOP fold because they ran it. This is how the Hollywood and the culture of media affects our politics. The lying media would have convinced the public of the Democrat lie that this has nothing to do with funding health care for illegals. Weak-kneed Republicans would have quickly caved, like the Disney execs who got a white Tangled actor. But in this new media environment, the truth is winning and Republicans are holding firm. Trump deserves a lion's share of the credit, and Elon Musk. But so does social media, Elon Musk. So does alternative media, those of us, and Breitbart, who stood firm. We did not change. We took all the slings and arrows. I have people calling me a homophobe today on Twitter going, you're a homophobe and your Jesus hates people. I get it every day. You just get a tough skin, as Trump said. You get numb to it. And so does a growing spine in the GOP, which we have documented in Mike Johnson, learning to make a fist and be a little stronger, which we like. Let's hope this continues after Trump leaves office in 2029. That's the fear. Here's Variety. So this is the guy that made the movie American Psycho. I know this is getting way deep in the weeds, guys, but it shows, I'll tell you something. This is the new movie that came out called One Battle After Another by Paul Thomas Anderson. Now, I love PTA, Paul Thomas Anderson. He did Magnolia and Hard Eight and Boogie Nights, and he's just Punch Drunk Love. He's a fun director. Not great. He's kind of a Robert Altman guy, but he just did this movie that is so ridiculous against conservatives, and it's being called just lazy, and it smells really dated. So when I hear this from Variety magazine in Hollywood, it tells me the culture is doing a massive change, even at the movie level. American Psycho author Bret Easton Ellis rips Hollywood for loving One Battle After Another. So this is a anti-Christian Republican movie, anti-MAGA movie, and Hollywood, of course, is fawning over it, and no one's going to see it. And he goes, it's just not a very good movie, but they love it because it makes them feel good as they try to cope post Kamala Harris. It features Leonardo DiCaprio, one of the greatest actors of all time. Sean Penn, he grew up with Paul Thomas Anderson. They were good buddies growing up. And Benicio del Toro. Here's Variety magazine. American Psycho author Bret Ellison says Hollywood loves One Battle After Another because it aligns with the kind of leftist sensibility. It's kind of shocking to see these kind of accolades for, I'm sorry, it's not a very good movie, because of its political ideology. And it's so obvious that's what they're responding to. Why it's considered a masterpiece, the greatest film of the decade, the greatest film ever made, is because it really aligns with the kind of leftist sensibility. That's it. That's all of their credentials right there. It will soon be a kind of musty relic of post-Kamala Harris era. That thing everyone gathers around and pretends is so fantastic, like Dr. Strangelove, and so great when really it just isn't. Just to make a point, there's a liberal mustiness to this movie that already feels very dated by October 2025, very dated, and it just doesn't read the room. You know, it reads a tiny corner of the room, but it doesn't really read what's going on in America. This is why Disney cast a white Tangled actor. They're starting to read America and go, you know, can we just make a movie? Wait, there's more. John Bolton, is expected to be indicted this coming week. Are you ready for it, guys? The Trump wins are going to keep coming.
Bolton, former national security advisor turned sharp critic of Donald Trump is expected to be the subject of a complaint or even an indictment as early as next week. MSNBC, citing two sources, is reporting exclusively that the acting U.S. attorney in Maryland is moving forward quickly to seek criminal charges against Bolton. They reportedly relate to claims that he improperly kept classified national security information in his Maryland home.
Look at, there's the boxes. Remember when they went after Trump for documents and Bolton said no one's above the law to Trump? And now Trump, we're pulling the classified documents out of Bolton's house. And guess what, Bolton? And this is a Republican. I'm all for it. Throw him in prison. No one's above the law. It's not stabbed Trump in the back. You were an opportunist, like Hollywood, and you were the last man to jump on top of a Trump dog pile. That makes you a coward. Same with Hollywood. You're artists. You should be brave. You should be punk rock rebels telling the truth, speaking truth to power. And you didn't do it. You'd never tell a joke about Obama. You were terrified of being called a racist. You'd never tell a joke. You'd only tell jokes against Bush and Trump. You're not an artist. You're a cop. You're a photocopier. Here's Elon Musk, judges, DAs, lawmakers, and NGOs who push murderous thugs on innocent people by early releasing them need to be held accountable for their actions. This says 29-year-old killed in Charlotte. Suspect is Sanchez Nicholson. 33 prior arrests and multiple attempted murders. Here's his 33 prior arrests. Yeah, we have to go after the judges and DAs that let this guy go. How is it that if a parent of a minor who has access to a loaded weapon, they shoot someone, they're allowed to legally go after the parents, but you can't go after the judges that did something much more dangerous? On the 33rd arrest, they let this guy go back in public. That's worse than a parent leaving a loaded gun in the house. You did it. You be held accountable. You go to jail. Now this is on the cultural change again. CBS before and after Barry Weiss's arrival. So this is CBS News on the Israel-Gaza war. I'm going to show you what bias versus facts look like. Barry Weiss, so you guys don't know, ran a podcast after she was canned over at, I think it was the New York Times. She started her own podcast. CBS News bought it for $120 million and put her in charge of CBS News to save their demolished, discredited institution. So here's the old headline. Then we're going to look at the new headline of the same news after Barry Weiss takes over the institution. They write, hospitals and health clinics in Gaza City are on the brink of collapse. This is normal Hamas apologetics. It's like the Jews are after the hospitals. They never targeted hospitals. It's Hamas that would put their soldiers and their military units in basements of hospitals intentionally as a shield, using women, children, and the sick as their shield. As normal practice. Nearly 2 weeks into the offensive, 2 clinics have been destroyed by airstrikes, 2 hospitals shut down after being damaged, and others are barely functioning with medicine, equipment, and food and fuel in short supply. According to the Gaza Health Ministry, which is not a neutral authority, they're run by Hamas. The Gaza Health Ministry puts out all the fake numbers. Wait, let's go back. So now this is Barry Weiss after CBS brings in some facts. It's the last line that really tells you the whole thing. Israel's retaliatory war against Gaza, so they're already retaliating against Gaza and against Hamas, which the U.S. and Israel consider a terrorist organization, thank you, Barry Weiss, has killed more than 67,000 people, according to the Hamas-run Gaza Ministry of Health. So she's telling you all the facts now. This is actual news. CBS, for the first time, just reported facts. Hamas-run Gaza Ministry of Health, which does not distinguish between civilian and combatant casualties. So they merge. When you kill 67,000 soldiers, they just call it people, most of them soldiers, but they make it sound like it's a bunch of civilian casualties. CBS News might have a hope. I think Barry Weiss's worst uphill fight right now, she's walking into a giant woke journalist institution and there's no conservatives working there. She has to fire half of them and hire half conservatives if she's going to ever get balance in their news coverage, because a liberal can't fake conservatism. Now, this one I liked a lot. These are a group of Yom Kippur war veterans plowed fields in the Valley of Israel, creating a message to appreciate Trump. You deserve a Nobel Prize, they say. So there's the the field. You're starting to make a letter there. And then we're going to see the message come to Nobel for Trump. Nobel for Trump with one little tractor. Thank you for that message, Trump, healing the world. Wait, here's some Pam Bondi moves. I'm trying to get out of here quick, guys. I know this is going long, but here's Mike Davis. Pam Bondi is racking up monumental Supreme Court wins for the president, 20 in a row. Again, the people who lied to you and said Pam Bondi needs to be replaced, they were wrong. They were always wrong. I got my news from Trump, Pam Bondi, and Mike Davis. Important investigations are moving forward right now. I've worked on this every single day for 3 years, and I have followed every one of his every single day for 3 years. I'll work on it every day for the next 4 years. Justice is coming. I will make damn sure it happens. Thank you for having me, Carl Higbee.
Well, I would say this. I know Pam Bondi, the Attorney General. I know her well, and she has already done a lot at the Justice Department in just a few short months to bring serious reforms, including firing a lot of people in Main Justice, including firing a lot of people in the U.S. attorney's offices.
And you know what? I got to take a victory lap here. First of all, I have the greatest audience in the world. You guys are the greatest, period. I see you in the chat. You're a better audience than I've ever had. Truth seekers, all the bomb throwers and weirdos, the Epstein people, they moved on. They lied to you and said, if Pam doesn't do the Epstein thing right now, she has to be fired. That's what they told you. I saw it in my chat and I told the truth. I said, no, you're wrong. And then I lost 400 subscribers in one day. Losers who want to be lied to. I said, go to other channels if you want to be lied to and make them money. There's a lot more money in telling you lies than telling you the truth. I have another very common comment by my chat. They're going, Doug, your channel is just growing so slow. We have to give you the numbers. There's an easy way to grow your channel. I could easily do the right titles and the right story and take the right positions to get another 400,000 psychos in my audience and hit 1 million subscribers. I don't want them. I don't want a bunch of conspiracy theorists. I don't want a bunch of people weirdos. I can only say to them, Pam Bondi is not wasting time on Epstein right now. Are you happy that she won 20 Supreme Court cases? Are you happy that that these Democrat insiders that are corrupting our government are getting fired right now? Are you happy that she's cleaning up our streets, pursuing bad guys, the hardest working AG in my lifetime, who was attacked by people in MAGA? I have a responsibility to you. I'm not going to ever send you down. Even that opening story I did on Antifa, I'm very cautious about it because it sounds like a conspiracy. And I know how those are. I will cover it, but I'm very careful about it, guys. You can trust me. I'm not a psycho, and I'm not here to just get subs where I'll tell you anything as long as I make money and get subs. Breaking Friday Night Massacre underway at CDC. Massacre in quotes, of course. This is about the firings last night. Dozens of disease detectives, high-level scientists, entire Washington staff and editors of the MMWR, Morbidity and Mortality Weekly Report, have been fired, that's reduction in force, and received the following notice. I'm just going to read you what all these guys getting fired get. I regret to inform you that you're being affected by the reduction in force action. Please find attached a notice memorandum explaining the RIF and next steps. The RIF action does not reflect directly on your service, performance, or conduct. It is being taken solely for the reasons stated in the memorandum. After you receive this notice, you will be placed on administrative leave and will no longer have building access beginning Friday, October 10th, last night, unless directed otherwise by your leadership. Additionally, please save this email and its attachments or forward them to a personal email address for your records. Leadership at HHS appreciates your service. Don't let the door hit ya where the good Lord put your butt. I'm Doug in Exile. Subscribe.